Hey plant fam, welcome back to The Sprout. Today we are talking about one of the most charming and unique houseplants you can grow, the Hoya. You might know it as the wax plant, wax flower, or porcelain flower. And honestly, that last name is perfect because the flowers look like they've been carved out of wax or porcelain. They're absolutely stunning. Hoyas have thick, waxy leaves that almost feel fake, and when they bloom, they produce these incredible clusters of star-shaped flowers that smell like chocolate or vanilla or honey, depending on the variety. But here's the thing, Hoyas had a bit of a reputation. Some people say they're easy, others say they're finicky and never bloom. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Hoyas are not difficult, but they're also not like your average pothos or philodendron. They have their own rules. Once you understand those rules, your Hoya will reward you with years of beautiful foliage and, with a little patience, those amazing flowers. In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know: light, water, soil, pots, humidity, temperature, fertilizer, getting them to bloom, pruning, propagation, and common problems. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about what Hoyas actually are. Hoya is a genus of over 500 species of tropical plants native to Southeast Asia, Australia, and parts of the Pacific. The most common houseplant is Hoya carnosa, but there are many others with different leaf shapes, colors, and flower types. In nature, Hoyas are epiphytes. That means they grow on other plants, usually up in trees. They don't grow in soil on the ground. Their roots are exposed to air and they get water from rain and humidity. This is the most important thing to understand about Hoya care. They need air around their roots, and they absolutely hate sitting in wet soil. That's why they're often called set-it-and-forget-it plants. They thrive on a little bit of neglect. Let's start with light. This is the most important factor for getting your Hoya to bloom. Hoyas need bright, indirect light. They love being close to a window. An east or west-facing window is absolutely perfect. A south-facing window can work too, but you need to filter the light with a sheer curtain. Direct sunlight will burn the leaves. You'll see yellow or brown patches that look like sunburn. On the other hand, if your Hoya doesn't get enough light, it will tell you. The plant will get leggy, meaning long stems with big gaps between leaves, and it will probably never bloom. So here's my rule. Give your Hoya as much light as you can without giving it direct sun. An east window with morning sun is ideal. If you only have a north-facing window, your Hoya will survive, but it probably won't flower. And let's be honest, we grow Hoyas for those flowers. Now let's talk about watering. This is where most people mess up with Hoyas. Remember, they're succulents. Those thick, waxy leaves store water. The roots hate being wet. Here's my simple rule. Water your Hoya only when the soil is completely dry. How do you know? Stick your finger in the soil. If it feels dry at the top and all the way down, it's time to water. Better yet, learn the wheat test. Pick up the pot when the soil is dry and feel how light it is. Then pick it up after watering. Over time, you'll know just by the weight whether your Hoya needs water. In most homes, that means watering about every 7 to 14 days in spring and summer, and every 2 to 4 weeks in fall and winter. When you do water, water thoroughly. Pour slowly until water runs out of the drainage holes. Then dump out any water in the saucer. Never let your Hoya sit in standing water. And one more thing, use room temperature water. Cold water can shock the roots and cause leaf drop. If you tend to overwater, Hoyas are very forgiving of underwatering. It's much better to err on the dry side. They can handle being a little too dry much better than too wet. Let's talk about soil and pots. Because Hoyas are epiphytes, they need a light, chunty, well-draining soil mix. Regular potting mix is too dense and holds too much water. Here's my recipe. Take 1 part standard potting soil, 1 part orchid bark, and 1 part perlite. This creates an airy mix that mimics the tree bark and debris where Hoyas grow naturally. It holds some moisture but drains quickly and lets air reach the roots. You can also buy a pre-made succulent or orchid mix. Those work well too. Now let's talk about pots. Drainage holes are non-negotiable. Terracotta pots are excellent because they pull moisture out of the soil. But here's something interesting about Hoyas. They actually like being root-bound. They bloom better when their roots are crowded, so don't repot your Hoya often. Every 2 or 3 years is plenty, and when you do repot, only go up 1 pot size, or even keep it in the same pot and just refresh the soil. A pot that's too large holds too much soil that stays wet too long, and that's a recipe for root rot.
Let's talk about humidity and temperature. Hoyas are tropical plants. They love humidity. The ideal humidity is 50 to 60%. In most US homes, especially in winter, humidity is much lower. The signs of low humidity are brown leaf edges and flower buds that dry up before opening. To increase humidity, you have options. Use a small humidifier near the plant. Group your Hoya with other plants. They create their own little humid microclimate. Or set the pot on a pebble tray filled with water. Just make sure the pot isn't sitting directly in the water. What about misting? Opinions are mixed. Some sources say Hoyas appreciate regular misting when they're not in flower. Others say avoid it because it can lead to fungal problems. My advice? If you have good air circulation, light misting is fine, but a humidifier or pebble tray is safer and more effective. As for temperature, Hoyas like it warm, between 60 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. They can handle down to 50 degrees, but not lower. Cold damage will cause leaf drop. In summer, you can put your Hoya outside in a shaded spot, but bring it back inside before nighttime temperatures drop below 50 degrees. Now let's talk about fertilizer. Hoyas are light feeders. In fact, too much fertilizer can actually discourage them from flowering. Here's my recommendation. During spring and summer, feed your Hoya once a month with a balanced liquid houseplant fertilizer diluted to half strength, or use a fertilizer formulated for succulents or blooming plants. Some Hoya experts recommend a fertilizer higher in phosphorus to encourage flowers. Do not fertilize in fall and winter. The plant is resting. One pro tip: if you want more flowers, some growers have success with blooming supplements. But for most Hoyas, good light is much more important than fertilizer. Now, let's talk about the flowers. This is why we grow Hoyas. When they bloom, it's magical. The flowers grow in clusters called umbels. They look like little balls of pink, white, red, or yellow stars. And the smell, oh, the smell! Some Hoyas smell like chocolate, others like honey, vanilla, or even lemon. The flowers produce drops of sweet nectar that you can actually taste. Here's the most important thing you need to know about Hoya flowers. Never, ever cut off the flower spurs. The spur, also called a peduncle, is the little stem where the flowers grow. Hoyas rebloom from the same spurs year after year. If you cut off the spurs, you're cutting off future flowers. After the flowers fade, just let the spurs be. They'll produce new flowers again next season. Also, be patient. Most Hoyas won't bloom until they're 2 or 3 years old. Some take even longer. So don't worry if your young Hoya isn't flowering. Just give it good light and it will bloom when it's ready. Now, let's talk about pruning and support. Hoyas are vining plants. In nature, they climb up trees. Indoors, you have 2 options. You can let your Hoya trail down from a hanging basket. That's a classic look. Or you can give it a trellis or hoop and let it climb. Climbing often produces larger leaves and more flowers because it mimics the plant's natural growth habit. As for pruning, it's best done in early spring before the growing season starts. You can trim back long, leggy stems to encourage bushier growth. Keep those cuttings, you can propagate them. Hoyas can handle a pretty hard pruning if they get out of control. Just don't prune off those flower spurs.
Also, wipe the leaves with a damp cloth every few weeks to remove dust. Dust blocks light and makes the plant look dull. Do not use leaf shine sprays. Hoyas have natural waxy coating that you don't want to damage. Now, let's talk about propagation. This is one of the most fun and satisfying parts of owning Hoyas. They're incredibly easy to propagate. You have two main options. First, stem cuttings in water. Take a cutting that's about 4 inches long with at least 2 or 3 leaves. Place it in a jar of water, making sure no leaves are underwater. Change the water once a week. In a few weeks to a couple months, roots will form. When the roots are a couple inches long, plant it in your Hoya soil mix. Second, stem cuttings directly in soil. Same cutting, but skip the water. Dip the cut end in rooting hormone if you have it, and plant it directly into moist potting mix. Put a plastic bag over the pot to create humidity. In a few weeks, roots will form. Here's a tip. Unlike many plants, Hoya cuttings don't necessarily need a node at the base to root. Roots can form all along the stem, so don't worry too much about where you cut. Propagation is best done in spring or summer when the plant is actively growing.
Now let's talk about common problems. Let's go through them one by one. Problem 1. Yellow leaves. This can be from overwatering, underwatering, or too much sun. Check the soil. If it's wet, let it dry out. If it's bone dry, water. If the leaves are also bleached or burnt, move it out of direct sun. Problem 2. Brown, crispy leaf edges. This is usually low humidity or underwatering. Increase humidity with a pebble tray or humidifier. Problem 3. Leaves dropping. This can be from overwatering, cold drafts, or sudden temperature changes. Check your watering habits and move the plant away from drafty windows or vents. Problem 4. No flowers. Almost always a light issue. Move your Hoya to a brighter spot. Be patient, young plants take time. Problem 5. Flower buds dropping before opening. This is called bud blast. It's usually caused by low humidity, inconsistent watering, or moving the plant while buds are forming. Keep conditions stable. Problem 6. Leggy growth with sparse leaves. Not enough light. Move to a brighter spot. Problem 7. Pests. Hoyas can get aphids, mealybugs, spider mites, and scale. Mealybugs look like white cotton in the leaf joints. Aphids are attracted to the sweet nectar on flowers. Scale looks like small brown bumps. For all these, wipe with rubbing alcohol on a cotton swab or use insecticidal soap. Isolate the plant for a few weeks. Problem 8. Root rot. This is the most common killer. It's caused by overwatering and poor drainage. The signs are yellow leaves, mushy stems, and a bad smell from the soil. Take the plant out of the pot. If the roots are brown and mushy, cut away the rotten parts. Repot in fresh, dry Hoya mix. Water much less going forward. Let me give you a few quick answers to common questions. Is Hoya toxic to pets? Good news. Hoyas are generally considered non-toxic to cats and dogs. However, the sap can cause skin irritation in some people, and ingesting large amounts of any plant can cause digestive upset. So it's still best to keep it out of reach of curious pets. Can I put my Hoya outside in summer? Yes, in a shaded spot, no direct sun. Bring it back inside before nights drop below 50 degrees. Why are my leaves getting soft and wrinkled? Thirst. Give it a good drink. Do Hoyas like to be misted? Some do, but a pebble tray or humidifier is better. How often should I repot? Every 2 to 3 years, or only when necessary. Hoyas like being root-bound. Do Hoyas need a trellis? Not necessarily. They look beautiful trailing from hanging baskets. Let's wrap everything up. The Hoya, wax plant, or porcelain flower is a unique and rewarding houseplant. Give it bright indirect light, an east or west window is perfect. Water only when the soil is completely dry. Use a chunky, well-draining mix of potting soil, orchid bark, and perlite. Keep it in a pot with drainage holes and don't repot too often. They like being root-bound.
Provide humidity of 50 to 60% with a humidifier or pebble tray. Keep temperatures between 60 and 85 degrees. Fertilize lightly once a month in spring and summer. Be patient for flowers. Young plants may take a few years. Never cut off the flower spurs. They rebloom from the same spurs. Propagate by stem cuttings in water or soil. Here's the most important thing to remember. Hoyas are not drama queens. They're just different. They don't want constant attention. They want to be left alone, given good light, and watered sparingly. The more you hover, the more problems you'll have. So find your Hoya a bright spot, water it less than you think you need to, and then just enjoy watching it grow. And when those first flower buds appear, and they will eventually, you'll understand why people collect these plants. If you have a Hoya at home, let me know in the comments. What variety do you have? Has it bloomed for you? Post a picture. I'd love to see it. And if you're new to the Sprout, hit subscribe. We put out new plant care videos every week. No plant shaming, just real tips for real plant parents. Thanks for watching. Take care of your plants, and they'll take care of you. See you in the next video.